Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and yeah, I'm feeling a lot better, so I wanted to give you this today. This was something that came in the Mike Huckabee email newsletter I just got, and this one is just for fun, okay? This is from Laura Ainsworth, Miss Mannerly's column after SOTU address. This is a good one. Dear Miss Mannerly, I had to sit in a highly public spot during one of the most uncomfortable and painful experiences I have ever had to endure in my long, very, very long career. It was the occasion of an important speech, and I had to sit in full view right behind the speaker, whom I detest. I'm sure the feeling is mutual. This was an hour and a half of sheer torture. Not only were all eyes in the room focused in my direction, but there were numerous cameras there, including live video, to capture my every expression for posterity. I knew I was completely visible at all times and was expected to maintain a respectful demeanor on this official occasion, but I just couldn't control my facial movements, even though it's often difficult for me to move parts of it at all. I did applaud when it was absolutely necessary, but took the opportunity to make a statement and register my contempt by making most of my clapping as unenthusiastic as possible. On an irresistible impulse, I even clapped at him when he turned to me, just to inject a little condescension. I don't see what's wrong with doing this, as I am already known as an enemy of this person and all he stands for. I did get the memo on the dress code, all white for the women, and followed it to a T. But now that the evening is over, I am hearing that I was rude. What did I do wrong? Gentle reader, it sounds as though you have been through a difficult and very trying experience, and Miss Mannerly offers her sympathy. Yet, from your letter, she gets the impression that your behavior on this occasion was extremely inappropriate. It's when we are in uncomfortable and perplexing situations that we need our good manners most of all. Your rudeness stems from the fact that an important speech was being given, so important that it was being beamed out live to a huge television audience, and you were doing what they call in the film industry, pulling focus. It doesn't matter whether or not you personally like the speaker or agree with what he had to say. Your role on this occasion was intended to be ceremonial. It would have been proper to avoid pursed and puckered lips, a sour expression, sullen clapping, and distracting motions such as, say, shuffling through a stack of papers while the speaker is talking. One should strive for a pleasantly benign expression, applaud politely, and offer no annoying distractions. Yeah, the paper thing just about got me. When she first started doing that, I thought, what is she doing? Oh, man. I don't know. That might have been a different speech than what she was anticipating or something. I have never, ever seen a Speaker of the House do that. I've never seen anybody sitting behind the president do that. So it was just weird. I thought the president giving them that is just part of the ceremony, and I never even imagined she would open it up and bring the papers out. It was just odd. So, but Nancy Pelosi, You seem to excuse your behavior by saying you detest the speaker and asserting that he feels the same way about you. Assuming he does, Miss Mannerly is wondering, was he similarly rude and condescending to you on this occasion? Or did he set personal feelings aside, at least temporarily, and behave politely towards you while the world was watching? If he did, you might take a lesson from him. Oh, I'm sure that would go over well with the Democrats. This goes as well for those members of the audience who presumably agree with you about this speaker. Miss Mannerly cautions all of you that if you want respect for your opinions, you must behave in a polite, professional manner. If you use rudeness to force your opinions on others, they will defend themselves by pushing back. And if it comes to that, they have Miss Mannerly's blessing. By the way, all white for the ladies is an unusual dress code. Might Miss Mannerly inquire as to its purpose? If dressing in this fashion was also an attempt to undermine or otherwise express hostility towards the speaker, who is, after all, an invited guest, then it is also impolite. The word childish also comes to mind. Miss Mannerly recommends that you apologize publicly for your behavior and also send a personal, handwritten note of apology to the speaker. Under the circumstances, a bouquet of flowers would be a nice addition. And if you are going to be put in this position again next year, she hopes you will strive to play your role more effectively, professionally, and politely. By the way, if you hear a low rumbling going on, that's my cat sitting next to me. He purrs really loud, and he's decided to take up residence next to me right now. Dear Miss Mannerly, I was in the audience recently for a major address by a speaker I detest. It was a big event. All 3 branches of government were there. The president, the House, and the Senate, plus some other people in robes and uniforms. I was sitting with my like-minded sisters, and we just did not feel like smiling. So we sat there with dark, brooding faces and talked sideways to each other a lot. I knew the TV cameras would be on me a lot because, let's face it, I'm a big deal. Super young and super photogenic. And I know a tremendous lot about stuff like economics and intersectionality, and must surely be at the tippy top of the IQ scale. I know that looks and clothes and stuff are so bourgeois, but I'm using my appearance to help me achieve my goal of taking over America for socialism. If I have to wear a $3,000 outfit to do that, so be it. After the event, though, a lot of people whose opinions I scorn anyway criticized me for deliberately looking solemn and disrespectful. I am not sorry one bit, so why should I apologize? By the way, like my sisters, I got the memo on the dress code. Can't remember for sure, but this may have even been my idea. All white for women to honor the women's suffrage movement after a century of women exercising their voting rights. I followed the dress code and wore just the right thing, and wow, do I look good in white. Gentle reader, as for wearing white, kindly reference the previous letter and my response above. Miss Mannerly still has the impression that the wearing of white on this occasion was primarily done to show solidarity against the speaker, who was an invited guest. For that reason, she finds it inhospitable and therefore inappropriate. As someone in the public eye, you are especially obligated to behave with grace and good manners, even though we live at a time when relatively few famous people do this. Miss Gladys Knight comes to mind most readily as a positive example. Why not try to model yourself after her? It occurs to Miss Mannerly that Miss Knight wore all white when she sang at the Super Bowl. But in that case, it wasn't done to undermine anyone. Indeed, she was celebrating our entire nation. As for taking over America for socialism, Miss Mannerly has observed that most political radicals have atrocious manners and hopes you will not follow in their footsteps. She also happens to know enough about history and economics to hope you will abandon your quest for the sake of the country. It's very challenging to remain polite while losing basic freedoms and facing shortages of food and bathroom tissue. Miss Mannerly apologizes for interjecting her political opinion, though it has long been proven correct, and feels she should send you a small gift to make amends. How about an autographed copy of a book by Thomas Sowell? And then they give this link to this New York Post article. Ocasio-Cortez is not apologizing for her State of the Union reaction. Yeah, she was sullen, and she didn't think there was anything wrong with that. Sat there the whole time. But oh, she looked good in white, right? Oh, yeah. And look what it says here. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez shot back at critics who complained that she didn't show much enthusiasm while attending the State of the Union address, saying President Trump's speech was an unsettling night for our country. Unsettling. I was not unsettled. Were you unsettled? Nope, not at all. I was cheering. It was great. Why should I be spirited and warm for this embarrassment of a SOTU? Embarrassment. Ocasio-Cortez wrote on her Twitter account after the speech late Tuesday, "Tonight was an unsettling night for our country. The president failed to offer any plan, any vision at all for our future." Really? Was she not paying attention to what he said? I thought he gave a very clear and visionary speech that pointed us all to the future we could have if we don't have people like her stopping us. "We're flying without a pilot, and I'm not here to comfort anyone about that fact." Okay, we're flying without a pilot. No, dear, we have a pilot. And you're inserting yourself in the cockpit trying to keep the man from doing what he's supposed to be doing. Now, in my opinion, that's kind of silly, because if you're on the plane and you're messing with the pilot and keeping him from doing his job, and the plane goes down, you're on the plane with him. So if the plane goes down, you go down. Hello? Wake up, dear. Oh, I don't know. It's just with these guys, they don't get it. They do not understand. You know, the whole Q movement has the "where we go one, we go all." And you all have heard that many times. Well, it's true. With America, where we go one, we go all. It's like we're all on that plane. And we do have a pilot. If somebody's trying to insert themselves between the pilot and the controls, there's going to be a problem. And it's not the pilot's fault. It's the people who are blocking the pilot from doing his job. And if we go down, we all go down. And that's what these people seem to not understand. We're all on the same plane. And if the plane goes down, we're all in trouble. Where we go one, we go all. So, yeah, she was the youngest woman ever elected to Congress. You know, what really bothers me is not so much her. What really bothers me are the people that voted for her. That there were enough people who voted for her to put her in office. That is what scares me. But I do think a lot of reason people are still supporting the Democrats is because they have been so brainwashed by the mainstream media. That's the whole point of it. They really do not see the truth. They don't understand. They've not heard what is happening. So when they heard this State of the Union, they thought, okay, this is a pack of lies. Because everything the mainstream media has been telling them is contrary to what the truth is. They trust the mainstream media more than they trust our president. And this is a distressing thing. Now, in some ways, I understand where they're coming from, because when Obama was in power, I listened to a lot of the White House press conferences. And when I listened to Josh Earnest and Jay Carney talking, it was like, yeah, they're lying. I know they're lying because I know other facts. And so I think that's the same mentality they have. But it's really difficult to fight when the mainstream media is the one telling the lies. And that's why I think one of the major targets that has to come down before we can see justice played out in the prosecutions will have to be the mainstream media cracking. We started to see it actually back with Kavanaugh, where they were trying to feed us one line, but the truth was coming out differently. And so we started seeing that, and then we saw the Covington, we've seen BuzzFeed have some issues and everything, and now we're seeing major layoffs. Why? Because they cannot keep going this way because the people do not trust them like they used to. In my opinion, it still has a ways to go before we can have them to the point where people will start seeing the truth. And even with the SOTU, the CBS poll, 76% of the people approved of that speech. That is tremendous. So that means this Ocasio-Cortez, she's really in the 24%. She doesn't realize that she's not part of that 76%. She's in this little bubble with all her socialist friends, and they all think the same way. And that's where she's at. She really has not been out of that. She's young enough, and I think those of you who are older will understand what I'm going to say. This is no disrespect to those of you who are younger, but with age, you start to see a lot of things that you didn't know when you were younger. And you find out that, hey, Maybe I didn't have all the pieces. I didn't understand how things are connected here and there. And so with socialism, it sounds great to somebody who is young, who doesn't have much money, because, hey, I'm going to have more money. I'm going to have this money be given to me because, well, I'm just a person and I deserve it. But that's not what ends up being sustainable. The best way to have sustainability is when you have people who are working on their own, who are earning their own money, and who are providing for themselves. They're working to make their own lives better. If someone just hands them money, it's not going to be the same. It's not going to have the same effect. That is a major lesson. I mean, some people do learn it early when they're young, but other people, it takes a while for you to learn that and to understand that things that you work hard for are more cherished than things that you're just given. Joe Manchin, if you watch Joe Manchin throughout the entire SOTU, he was very friendly with the Republicans. He stood up on almost everything the Republicans stood up on. So he was really walking the line there. He really is, if you want to say it this way, a dino, a Democrat in name only. I really think so at this point. So that's a good thing, though, because he's not playing along with all the rest of these. I think we saw a huge divide in the Democrat Party by who was standing up and who wasn't. It was not in unison like it normally is. And I think for us, that is a very good thing. And I think this is what Trump was going for. He's trying to bring reason back to these people and to show the country how the Democrats really are divided. There are the centrists, the moderates that are in the middle that are not that far away from what the Republicans believe. And then you have these Ocasio-Cortez types that are trying to transform our country into a socialist country. I would like to see her go to Venezuela for a while. I really would. I question if she has ever even been out of the country. And I think that if she could go someplace that has true socialism, has true poverty because of it, she might transform her ideas. I don't know. She's still young enough that it might not be so entrenched in her. But many people that I'm finding who are so socialist oriented have just never been out of the United States. They really don't understand what life is like in other countries. And, you know, I spent some time in France. I lived there for a little bit working with a church. And even there, I mean, they're not totally socialist, but they are a type of socialism. And while on the surface it may seem good, there were a lot of problems in France. And one of the big ones was unemployment. Everybody was unemployed, and they had people that were just being soaked with taxes. There was one guy I knew who couldn't make ends meet at his regular job because of the heavy taxes on them. And so he had a side business where he'd get old machines like washing machines and dryers and things, and he'd repair them so he could resell them and do it kind of under the table so he didn't have to pay taxes on it because the taxes were just unreal. It was like 50% of what people were making. And, you know, you have people like this Ocasio-Cortez. Here she is suddenly making a lot of money. I wonder how much of her money she's going to be giving to other people. And that should be something that we press her on, because if she truly is a fan of socialism, then she shouldn't mind giving a bunch of her money to people who are less fortunate. So that's what I've got for you today. I just thought that was kind of a fun article from the Mike Huckabee site. And it's always good to go there and to leave him some comments, let him know that you thought it was a good article, and support him in that way. If you want to sign up for his newsletter, I've always found his stuff interesting, and entertaining usually. Now, before you go, remember, click the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, because the more subscribers I have, the more my news gets out there, and the more likely it is people will see my videos. What's really important is spreading this information around, letting people know what's going on in our country, not just what the mainstream media is telling us, but things that other people don't necessarily see. And that's my goal, is to get that information out. And for my personal goal, I have a birthday coming up in the middle of April, and I would really like to hit 60,000 subscribers by then. So I hope I can make it. I'm kind of on track if I can keep the momentum going, that will be really good. But I had a few low days here because of the funeral and everything. And so I'm hoping to get back at it. I want to get some more research done so I can get some good, solid videos out there for you with the research so you can share them with other people. So that's what I've got for you today. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.